my name is Christopher John Rogers, ChristopherJohnRogers.
Awesome. And what would you like to title yourself?
Like fashion designer is fine.
Awesome. Are
Yeah.
you 26 or 27 this year?
Well, last October I turned 27, and then in October I'll be 28.
Awesome. Well, happy late birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is awesome. And you were born and raised in Baton Rouge, is that right?
Yes, born and raised in Baton Rouge.
Wow. What high school did you go to?
I went to Baton Rouge High.
Baton Rouge High. Okay, right down the
Yeah,
street from here.
exactly.
How old were you when you decided to move away from Baton Rouge?
I always knew that I wanted to go to an art school, and I wanted to study fashion. And I figured that New York would be like the best place for that. I started studying sort of some of my favorite designers, and I saw where they went to school, and they went all over. Some went to California, some went to London, some went to New York. But that's sort of the story that you hear is that if you want to do fashion, you go to New York. It's the only place to go. So I pretty early on, I realized that I wanted to sort of expand my horizons in a way and study in New York. But after I sent out a few applications and I visited and toured a few schools and campuses, the one that appealed to both me and my family the most was SCAD in Savannah.
Oh, wow. Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay. So you must have been, what, 18 out of high school and then young
18.
20s.
Yeah,
Wow. And obviously, I think I know the answer to this, but it seems like your family was really supportive.
they were absolutely. I mean, ever since I was young, according to my mom, I always showed artistic tendencies, and instead of like trying to repress it, I was really lucky to have parents that like put me into talented art programs. So I got tested really young, and ever since I was in first grade, I think I was in talented art. Um, so my parents have always been really supportive. If I wanted to learn how to sew, my mom would drop me off at uh, one of my co-students at Baton Rouge High. We had a fashion show one year, and then her mother came up to me after the show and was like, "I really love what you did. I think you're really talented. If you want to like learn how to sew properly," because I didn't really know how to sew at that point. So my best friend Julie Liu, she like we would just like go thrifting and take vintage clothes and then like 1 or 2 yard pieces of fabric and hodgepodge them together to create something. And Miss Keto, Carol Keto, she came up to me and was like, "I really love what you're doing, and I think you have a really strong point of view. But if you want to learn how to like make patterns or like sew things properly, like come over and I can teach you how to sew." So that was, I think, my junior year. I think it was my junior year of high school where that happened. So I'm really lucky to her, really grateful to her for teaching me, taking time out of her, schedule to teach me how to work a machine.
I just love that as a junior in high school, you were like, okay, sure, like, let's do it. Let me learn.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I knew that. I kind of knew that the more that you knew going into college in respect to sort of what you wanted to do, the faster you could acclimate to the work. And I've always been someone who wanted to excel and do my best. That's something that my family instilled in me was that, you have to work really hard to get anywhere in life. So yeah, any opportunity that I could take that would help me sort of reach my goals, I guess I hopped on the train.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, from what it seems like you've always been a go-getter, even from, beyond all of these A-list celebrities wanting to wear your work. But when you just see one of your items and so anyone wearing that, your work radiates joy. And I think it's
Thanks.
the colors, it's how you design. It's just so expressive. And I, I read an interview about that you did with NPR about your grandmother and how that played a little bit of a role. Would you mind going
Yeah.
into that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So my grandmother was the mother of Greater Mount Gideon Baptist Church in Baton Rouge. And every Sunday we would go with her and my family to church. And one of the things that stuck out to me the most was sort of like the switch that people made in terms of the way they dressed or presented themselves in a space. So obviously if you go to school, if you're like going to the grocery store or you're going to a football game or hanging out, those are all kind of more casual affairs. But as soon as these people turned up to church, everyone was in head to toe green or head to toe purple or head to toe red or white or whatever color, or people wore print, and everyone really sort of tried to present their the most elevated version of themselves in that way. And then I've also always been a fan of monochromatic color for whatever reason. So that was a moment that I found really inspiring, to see people fully committing to themselves in a space and not really caring what other people thought in terms of fashion. So I thought that was really cool.
It's just amazing to hear that now. You remember that as a kid, and then to see icons like, I just think of Michelle Obama's suit, how vibrant
Yeah.
it was, the material was like glistening, even Regina King, just so vibrant. And it's just
Yeah.
amazing to think that your inspiration came as a child. I mean, you were born to do this.
Thank you. It's definitely something that I try and like lean into the things that come naturally to me. So color is one of them. Um, Obviously inspired by me going to church, but at the same time, my art classes and learning about impressionist or abstract expressionist, cubism, people that really were focused on color as an object, I thought was really interesting. So marrying those two things um, just kind of came naturally to me. And then I think one other inspiration that I think was really important to me was seeing the boutique Time Warp, which is still around, amazingly, and it's right next to Baton Rouge High. But they would organize the store either by color, so it was like all of the reds, all of the oranges, all the greens together, or it was by decade. And my favorite was when it was by color, because you could see like this 1980s men's suit next to this frilly women's dress or whatever, and it wasn't about anything other than the color together. And so finding weird connections through silhouette and making them unify through color was something that I found really inspiring as well.
But that takes a specific and special vision to even see, just to look at that and then come up with something that you can envision. I think is pretty incredible.
Thank you.
That's just amazing. It's amazing how minds work like that. And from the time that you were learning how to sew as a junior in high school, and then to go off to
Mhm.
SCAD, and even to now, I mean, you're still pretty young, 27, but so well
Yeah.
accomplished. And it's amazing to see how much you've accomplished, but I'm looking forward to see what you'll accomplish even in the next 5 years, in the next decade.
Thank you.
Um, do you feel like your process has changed much since learning and kind of coming into your own?
I think it definitely, I think it's always evolving. There are some like artists and designers who like have a very strict process and they kind of do the same thing, which works really well for them. But I think one thing that works best for me is when I allow for flux and when I allow for things to constantly change. So like when I'm working, or even when I'm not working, if I'm watching a movie on Netflix on my computer or I'm walking down the street, I'll either take a screenshot of a camera still or a video still, or I'll take photos of flowers or like this trash bag, and just compile them until I'm ready to sort of like excavate what those things mean to me. So it's not necessarily like I'm inspired by the 80s or I'm inspired by like this book I read. It's all of the things at once, which I think allows for more fullness in the design.
Kind of coming at it from all different kinds of perspectives.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just incredible. That's just amazing to see that come to life in the form of your work. And I mean, you've drawn so many different people, I'm sure, beyond what the mass public has been able to see. But have you had any favorite designs?
Ooh.
Or top three, if that
Well,
makes it easier?
I think that like I personally enjoy the most when just regular people end up tagging me or tagging the brand on Instagram, and I can like sort of see how people implement these designs in their real life. Because a lot of people have like made the comment that the work that we do is very fantastical or sort of out of this world in a way, um, which is true in some respects. But I always try and keep um, a bit of pragmatism in everything that we do. So if something appears to be this huge dress or this huge gown, it's actually a skirt and a top that you can maybe you can wear the top with jeans, or you can wear the skirt with a t-shirt to a different event, or you can use these pieces more than once. And so it's always really cool to see like someone in Kentucky or Louisiana or France or, Hong Kong wearing these pieces. They're these, it's a really global point of view that we're trying to establish. And it's always really fun to see people enjoying it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And how has that response been as more people learn about who you are and how your process works? What is that feeling like?
It's exciting. I mean, you kind of, or maybe for me, I kind of thought that the work that I wanted to make was incredibly specific in a way that felt scary to some people. But I'm learning that while that is true on one end of the spectrum, on the other end are people who are very, very excited by it because they're clothes that you kind of can't get anywhere else. And I think that's the magic of it. People really feel some way about it because it's very unique and very special. So it's really exciting to know that people feel excited by the clothes.
Well, let me tell you, you inspire in so many ways. Again, just reading through some of the comments to see, oh, would have never put this together, or this is an amazing combo. It's just fun to see that and how you may inspire other people. And for someone who is in the industry, which I imagine is very demanding, I'm sure it is not easy to be in your field. When you tell people you're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, what's typically the reaction?
They're like, oh, I've never been. What's it like? Or they're like, oh my God, LSU. Or they're like, is that by New Orleans? Or there are people who are from Louisiana. Like when I got here, I actually like met a lot of people who were from Louisiana who were either makeup artists or hairstylists or worked in different parts of the fashion industry. But people usually don't really know what to think. And so I'm always like, it's just a really big, small town to me, and everyone's really nice, and it's incredibly diverse, I think. And I'm really lucky to have grown up, I think, in Baton Rouge because it definitely made me the designer and the person that I am today, drawing on, again, like this idea of dressing up. And when you think of cotillion balls or Mardi Gras or prom or, things like that, but then also like a football game or hanging out on the weekends, like mixing high drama or like being your best self with something incredibly pragmatic and everyday is the basis of like what I do. So
that's beautiful that you can take a culmination of all the things that make Louisiana, Louisiana, but also part of where you were raised into the tradition of let's mix it all together. What can we create out of that? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask the last time you were able to come back home and visit with your parents or able to even see them?
Oh yeah, actually, so I came down for Christmas.
Oh, that's awesome. I bet they were so thrilled to see you.
Yeah, it was really cool because I hadn't seen them since the year before. I usually come down once a year because of the schedule and everything, and it's really hard. But like I quadruple masked it up and wore like gloves on the plane and everything. But it was really good to see my family. I hadn't seen them in so long. And they're like one of the main reasons that I do, what I do, and that I'm able to do what I do. So I love seeing them.
Yeah. How do you feel knowing, even from as a kid till now, knowing that you've got the full backing of your parents in an industry that's so hard, that's so unique? Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially in Louisiana, you go off to study to be a teacher or to be in the medical field.
Yeah.
But you went and did your own thing and had the support of your parents, which I think is so special.
It is. I mean, that's honestly that's the only reason that I'm in this position is my parents and my family. Whether it was like saving up a few extra dollars to send me money so that I could buy the fabric that I wanted, or even like encouraging me to go out of state to study what I really wanted to study at one of, the best schools for it. And then also like preparing me to apply for college. I got a really great scholarship because without it, I may not have been able to go. And that was all due to, the studies I did in middle school and high school that allowed me to get that scholarship. So, I'm grateful to my parents for always like letting me just be myself. And Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be expressing myself the way that I am or like making this type of work if didn't have their support. Um, so yeah,
I love that. I love that so much. And just the fact that they're still here rooting you on from halfway
yeah,
across the country, it's just so sweet. Yeah, and I'm sure they can only feel just elated once they see Michelle Obama wearing your work. And how do you
yeah.
feel when you hear, oh, Lizzo wants to, Tracy Ellis Ross wants to wear one of your items? And I'm not sure how it works if they contact you or you reach out to them, but
Mhm.
how does it feel to see all these people who want to wear your work?
It's it's amazing. I mean, these are like some people that I grew up like watching on TV and like looking at them with awe and finding them very inspiring, not just by the clothes that they wear, but the politics that they represent, and their open-mindedness and their just their personality and what they represent. So to know that they, you know, when they're going through the rack with their stylist or if they're picking them out themselves, they identify with sort of what we represent as a brand. That's really powerful, and I'm just really honored always whenever someone chooses to wear our clothes because they in the past and continually they always reach out. Um, because the clothes that we do again are so specific, they're like, you know, we want to pull this, we want to try this. And then sometimes it ends up working out, sometimes it doesn't. But even if they ask, we're just always really honored that they are thinking of us.
Yeah. And even just scrolling through your Instagram page, it is evident, and this is coming from an amateur who does not know
Yeah.
what what your model wears that is yours makes them shine too. And I think
Thank
that's
you.
unique. It's, when sometimes you wear someone else's clothes, it embodies the work and the item itself. But
Hmm.
what you see, I mean, your models just radiate in the clothing.
Thank
So I'm
you.
sure they feel confident in what you're putting them in, but it seems like a symbiotic relationship, which is incredible.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whenever we're casting this show, we make sure that the people that we're using or the individuals that we're using have a personality and that they're not necessarily wallflowers. You know, but we also try and make sure that they feel comfortable in the clothes. We want to make sure that they feel excited about what they're wearing, and that they feel comfortable, and that they feel like they can be themselves in it because we don't ever want to change anyone. We just want to make things that allow people to feel like, oh, I finally found something that feels like me, you know, like in a sea of, you know, black jackets and pants and, you know, all of the basics. When you find something that really speaks to you, and maybe you're a bit scared to wear it, or you're like, I don't know what people are going to think. I think that that's the most impactful fashion because it's about you and not about anyone else.
That is so powerful. Just in that statement alone, that's really powerful. And for someone who might be watching this, someone here locally, someone in a rural part of Louisiana who wants to
Yeah.
follow in your footsteps, what would you tell a younger person who wants to do what you're doing now?
I would tell them to lean into all the parts of yourself that you think are a bit scary or off or that people won't understand because that's where your power lies. All of those little weird things, you're like, oh, why am I attracted to like this one color? Or why do I feel like this is really cool, but maybe it's a bit like off or people won't get it? I think that that's the interesting stuff. That's the new stuff that you need to like explore. So just be yourself and work really, really hard and um, don't ever give up because following like your heart, I think, while also keeping in mind, reality is where the magic lies.
I love that. It sounds like that's exactly what you did and you found your way.
Yeah,
That's
I tried to do.
that is awesome. Just a couple more questions. Where do you
Yeah.
see yourself 10 years from now? What's the dream for you?
In 10 years, I just hope to keep doing what I'm doing now. I know that I'm in a really privileged position to be able to make clothes that I like and that my team enjoys working on. So I just hope that in 10 years, I'm still making clothes under my own name. Yeah.
That is awesome. And last question for you. Can I ask how you describe yourself to other people? How do you identify? Do you identify as a young Black designer, a person of
Yeah.
color, or how would you want to be identified?
I mean, that's a really good question. I think for me, I just want to be known as a designer. I think that everyone has their own identity and experience that they bring to the work that they do. But for me, I don't want to be defined by it. I just want to be defined by the work. So I think just a designer.
I think your work speaks for itself, and we're all so proud of you. We can't wait to see what's to come, but congratulations on all of your success. I hope you know you've worked for it and it's paying off.
Thank you so, so much, Liz. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I'm Liz Coe. Thanks for checking out the WAFB YouTube channel. Hey, why don't you subscribe while you're here? Go ahead and click on that box and you'll get the latest updates on when we go live. Make sure you download the WAFB News app for the latest updates too.